Microsoft is developing a remake to The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, or at least there has been rumors all around about it, and the rumors have been circulating for about a year. I've made this video a year ago, and here we go again. And it seems that the news are legitimate, and as one of the biggest fans of Oblivion, I have things to say. Oblivion is one of my favorite games of all time, probably the most favorite. I have played it definitely more than 10 times, maybe even 15. But first, there is some controversy. What's it gonna be? A remake or a remaster? In short, remaster is a cosmetical improvement of the game, and remake is a complete rework of the game. Well, if it's gonna be a remaster, then it's completely unnecessary. We have seen a lot of shitty remasters like Assassin's Creed 3, GTA remasters, etc. We don't need another one in the list. No matter what they're gonna do with the remaster, it doesn't make sense. That's by the way why I don't like Oblivion. For those who doesn't know, Oblivion is roughly speaking Skyrim modded to be 100% Oblivion. And as for me, it looks extremely bad. Don't get me wrong, I like how vanilla Oblivion looks. It is stylistic. It looks like a painting. Oblivion though is based on Skyrim, that looked good in 2011. I would even say that Skyrim aged worse than Oblivion, because it's not stylistic. It tries to look realistic. And again, it looked good 14 years ago. It doesn't anymore. And stylistically improving Oblivion visuals doesn't make sense either, because it just won't make it better. It's like playing Minecraft in 4K. Yes, you can do it, but it won't make a lot of sense. That's why I don't like Oblivion, and that's why I don't like the idea of Oblivion Remaster. Now, Oblivion Remake is a different idea. It means that we'll get new combat system, balance and visuals. And I hope they will change the style and will try to make realistic graphics. Otherwise, again, it won't make sense. We don't need Dragon Age Veilguard 2.0. And now that we have discussed the remaster versus remake issue, we can go on. It looks like Microsoft is outsourcing the game. It won't be developed by Bethesda. It looks like Virtuous and Black Shamrock are gonna remake the game. But the question arises, do we even need Oblivion Remake? The answer is simple. No. We don't need Oblivion Remake. Wait, you said that it is your favorite game. Don't you want a remake? Yes, it is what I want, but it is not what we need. And now I'm going to explain why. But before I do that, let me brag a little, because my prediction is coming true. In my video about the Elder Scrolls 6 hot takes, I said that Microsoft needs a pretext to close Bethesda Studio. And then Microsoft can outsource the Elder Scrolls series and Fallout series to new capable studios. Because Bethesda is an ineffective studio that releases games too slowly, and the games are of a low quality. And now with Oblivion Remake outsourced, it seems that Microsoft began to turn that plan into reality. Because be sure that Microsoft didn't buy Bethesda Studio for Bethesda Studio. They bought Bethesda for the rights to Bethesda games. That is, the Elder Scrolls, Fallout and others. So yeah, if you would be subscribed to my channel, you would know that a long time ago. So subscribe now, and leave a generous and glorious like to this video. Now back to discussing the Oblivion Remake. I personally don't want Oblivion Remake, because I would rather have Morrowind Remake. Let's look at those two games closer. I want to start with the visuals because it is the first thing that catches the eye. Yes, as you can see, the games are not the most beautiful by modern standards, but it seems to me that the issue of Oblivion graphics is often hyperbolized. There is a kind of consensus. People say that Oblivion visuals are bad. It didn't age well. On the other hand, there is a consensus that says pixel art is not bad, it is just the visual style of the game. It doesn't matter that pixel art is not the most pretty, and Oblivion graphics are bad because… Yes, I understand. If you compare Oblivion with, for example, The Last of Us Part 2, it is obvious that Oblivion has bad graphics. But let's not raise the standard that high. As I said earlier, Oblivion visuals are stylistic, and it looks like an oil painting. It is not the most realistic painting, but it's fantasy. And fantasy doesn't always have to be realistic from a visual point of view. And for 2006 game, it is actually pretty good. That being said, if we will get the remake, I want realistic graphics. As I said earlier, it doesn't make sense to improve something that is stylistic, as it doesn't make sense to have Minecraft in 4K, 8K, 16K, whatever. So, now that we concluded that Oblivion looks okay, let's look at Morrowind. I doubt that anyone can defend Morrowind visuals. It's too old. Of course, you can also say that Morrowind visually looks like a painting. Like those weird medieval paintings. Though I doubt it is a compliment, more like an insult. Anyway, there is not enough details in Morrowind to the extent that you can get lost in a cave just because every passage in the cave looks the same as the others. Hell, the game is so old that it doesn't even have voice acting. Next, I want to mention that Oblivion is, don't laugh, a modern game. Yes, it is a 2006 game, and I said that it is modern. I mean that it is modern in terms of game design. If you compare Morrowind with Oblivion, the difference is obvious. Morrowind has old school game design. I'll talk about it in a minute. For now, I'll just say that I can't recommend Morrowind to a modern player, because of the outdated gameplay and navigation in the game. No matter how much Morrowind is praised by the old frogs, it is hard to play now. Period. Now let's get back to the point. In Morrowind there is a system that came from board games, where there are chances of hitting the enemy. There's literally a crab standing in front of you, literally a crab that doesn't move anywhere. And you strike it like 20 times and miss it every time. Like, is the character so stupid that he can't hit a target that doesn't move anywhere at close range? If we were talking about, for example, a human enemy, we could imagine that your enemy dodged a strike, but not when it's a freaking crab. Is it a ninja crab or something? It is even more absurd to use a bow in Morrowind. You need to aim the bow at the target, make a shot, the arrow must hit the enemy, and only then the game decides whether the arrow really hit your enemy, or was it your imagination.
Anybody there? Must be my imagination.
So, physically hitting the enemy is not enough. This is no longer the case in Oblivion. If you hit the enemy, you hit it. Period. Modern games have evolved. Previously, games could not visually and mechanically reflect the fact that your opponent dodged, so it had to be reflected using a system of hit chances. That's why I personally draw a clear line on this parameter, where the game is modern and where it is not. Yes, the animation may be less elaborate, but the game design of Oblivion is the same as in the modern games. And some may say,
Actually, Baldur's Gate 3 had chance-based game design, and it is the game of the year. The guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, first of all, Baldur's Gate 3 is not an action RPG, it's turn-based RPG. There is a reason why some mechanics work in some games, but don't work in others. It is a long discussion. I understand why there must be a chance-based system in Baldur's Gate combat. It has to be the way it is. But even though this system is a necessity in Baldur's Gate 3, it is also the system that often brings the most frustration to the player. Now, back to the point. Since we're talking about modernity, we can also mention markers on the map. They are present in Oblivion and not present in Morrowind. Markers are a good thing because it means that the game respects your time. By the way, there's a quest in Oblivion without markers on the map. The quest to the DLC, The Knights of the Nine, where you have to find all the sanctuaries of 9 gods. You are given a physical map, and you have to find all the sanctuaries on your own. And although there is a group of people who claim that markers on the map are evil, I have never heard anyone saying that the quest to find the sanctuaries in Oblivion is good. It is funny, I once saw a video on YouTube where in one video the author criticizes the markers on the map and a couple minutes later complained that it is difficult to get to the destination in the mountains, because you have to follow the roads and not just go straight to the marked location. To summarize, markers on the map are also a marker of a modern game. Yes, Oblivion also had some bad sides as well, and I realize it and don't idealize the game. And the biggest issue of Oblivion is auto-leveling, or level scaling. The issue of auto-leveling is actually very deep, and we may discuss the issue of auto-leveling in a separate video. For now, I'll just say that Skyrim has auto-leveling as well, but I don't hear people complaining about it. So the issue is actually not in the auto-leveling itself, but in the way this auto-leveling is configured. The real issue is that the game becomes harder as the player levels up. Of course, the game does not become unplayable. In fact, there are a lot of builds in Oblivion where you can literally become invincible. But in general, the game is quite varied. It gives you a lot of opportunities to progress. That includes crafting poisons and potions, creating your own spells, and enchanting items of clothing and armor. And at the end, let's not forget that there are a lot of things that are not affected by the fact that the game is almost 20 years old, like the story, main quest, and what is more important in my opinion, side quests and guild quests. And now that we have already concluded that Oblivion is a modern game with cool quests and story, we can get to the point again. And the point is that we don't need Oblivion Remake right now. Of course, I don't expect Microsoft to stop the development of Oblivion Remake, but it's kinda sad that they decided to remake Oblivion and not Morrowind, because Oblivion is a cool game as it is. And at the same time, Morrowind suffers because of how old the game is. It is in far worse position than Oblivion. Morrowind can really use the refreshing of the remake. The game is quite unique, meaning it has unique visual style of environment. The game has good quests, but it is a complete joke on the level of performance, meaning gameplay, mechanics, absence of voice acting, bad navigation, and how bad visually the game looks like on a physical level. Stylistically, as I said, the game is quite unique. Morrowind is a game that can be saved. And if we're talking about Morrowind Remake, we can get the whole Morrowind now, not just the central island, which means that there is room to add a lot of original content. And that's it for today. But there is more from where that came from. So why won't you go and watch this video? Or this one? Or any other? Also, don't forget to subscribe and leave a generous and glorious like to this video. See you later.